Asaf. Hey, Chris back there behind the veil. How you guys
Hello,
doing?
everybody.
Morning.
Yes.
Chris in Texas. I'm here in Jersey. Asaf over there in the Middle East in Israel.
Yo.
Things are getting hot. Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the great transition from all our friends all around the world. I see Azarel and David Mancini and P. Marlin and Patricia are here already. I got a quick view on my
Yetzi.
screen.
I see. Debbie. Timothy. Yeah.
All right. So you know what we're doing here. We're looking at what's going on in the world, and thank God we got renewed for another season. The world, um, the great transition is not ending. The great transition is going on, and it's going on. Actually, it's a little bit of cognitive dissonance about what's going on. I want to talk about that in a minute. But here we're looking at what's going on in the world through the lens of the authentic wisdom of Kabbalah. So if you have questions, ask them in the chat on, I think we're on Facebook. Are we on Facebook also today?
We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are everywhere we can be. I hope. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Um, so if you have any questions about what's going on, ask away there, and Chris is collecting. We'll send them to us, and let's jump in. Why do I say cognitive dissonance? I say cognitive dissonance because on the one hand, where I work, most people, if you're vaccinated in the U.S., you don't need to wear a mask.
Okay.
So most of the people at the office are not wearing masks. Few still are. Um, Not to say that the vaccine is a silver bullet for COVID. We don't know for sure. It's could be very corrupted and why it happened and political and who knows. But this is what we
And there's a
did, and this is
whole controversy around it, of course, and everything. Is it even a good thing and all that? Yeah.
By the way, I saw some news this week that in Israel, people who have the vaccine got the coronavirus, but I saw that one of the guys was maybe like 80 years old, so maybe that doesn't count. I don't know.
No,
What's
no,
the
there
verdict on
were
this?
there were a few cases of Delta variant, the new Indian variant, infecting people who were vaccinated. So I don't know, you know,
Hmm. Okay.
it
So,
happened. Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
So, I think we can renew. We can try and get our contract renewed for 2 years based on what we see.
Maybe you
Okay.
care to explain that to those who don't maybe catch the,
Oh, it's
the
just
gag
a
here.
joke, meaning like, like a series on Netflix or something, like if it gets renewed for another season if it's good, and it gets renewed for another season if it's good. So just joking that as long as there's more COVID and more natural disasters, so then there's still
That there's a
room to
reason.
explain them.
There's a
There's a
reason
reason to
for our
explain
show.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so if we're not
In
here
short,
anymore, that
we'll be the happiest when our show gets canceled.
yeah,
If it
exactly. If you don't see us here, that means it's safe to go outside.
yeah, but at the moment it's too hot to go outside though, huh?
It's really hot. It's really
Yeah.
hot. And let's talk about that in a minute. But before we do, I was away last
Okay.
week.
Mm-hmm.
I took my kids to Central America. My kids have been home for about 2 years. I don't think they, I mean, we've been into this New York a few times, but I don't think they really left in about 2 years. And school was over, and I had a
Mm,
few reasons to want to spread my wings and go out. And
right.
you would, besides the fact that all of the help, at the hotel and in different places are wearing masks, you would be hard pressed to realize that we're in the middle of a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's really disorienting about it, because on the one hand, as a Kabbalist, we understand what's happening in nature. We understand where it's like a tsunami before the tsunami, and you see everyone's hanging out on the beach. You know that the tsunami's not coming for another few days, but everyone's
Right.
just like chilling on the beach, and you're like thinking to yourself, should I tell them? Don't I tell them? But
Mm.
even if I tell them, what's the purpose? Everyone's enjoying, and also I'm enjoying. So there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance as
Mm-hmm.
you're like, zip lining through the rainforest,
Mm.
and saying like, wow, this is so weird,
Mm.
because on the one hand we understand what nature's doing, and that this is like that inhale exhale process, to take a moment and reflect. And on the other hand, it seems like even real estate prices in New York skyrocketed again. People
Right.
left that city by the hundreds of thousands. Prices like went
Plummeted.
down,
Yeah.
plummeted, and now they're like the highest they've been, I don't know, ever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for the rental market and sales, and penthouses are the biggest thing that are selling
Mm-hmm.
now. So it's so strange how
How
everything is so favored.
it reflects kind of our you know our ability to cope with what's happening. Our, you know what I mean, like uh,
What do
nothing
you mean?
I mean that, if everything is like just going up and down like that, then it kind of shows that we're nothing major has happened from human beings perspective. Nothing is everything is just, business as usual, kind of. Okay, it's skyrocketing again, why wouldn't
So
it,
that right, that's the real cognitive dissonance, this kind of business as usual feeling
yeah.
when we know and we see that so much is changing. But it's really as if in the big thing is really our sensations. And let's open that up today. It's what we feel. It's not really what's going on or how much is going on or how much we
Mm.
see of it or how much we understand, but it's really based on what do I feel right now, and that's what I'm going to base my life on. Um, so here's something I was thinking about when I was away. If I didn't have a cell phone and I wasn't really paying attention to the news too much, I usually have a habit of checking in the morning first thing to see if there's like a war or if world peace came or something, and then that's it. But I wasn't really following the news too much, and I wasn't on my phone too much. What if you were somewhere and you're
Okay.
kind of out of touch with what's going on in the world?
All
Okay,
right. Okay.
someplace
Yeah, like
does
like an island vacation type of thing,
or
without a
or
phone, no
or
phone.
or in the middle of the United States working on a farm somewhere. It
Okay.
doesn't matter. The point is, if you don't know about the 200 rapes going on in some place far away from you, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know that there's a million people being sterilized and put in a concentration camp on some continent far away from you,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know that a couple hundred people got shot this past weekend around your country, like, does it affect you?
Hmm.
Now, of course, it affects your feelings. Like, we're all in a network and we feel things. So I'll feel, moody when I wake up in the morning. I don't know why. Maybe it's just I think I'm hungry, or I think it's the person next to me's fault, or whatever. I just pick up Instagram and start scrolling until I forget about it. But the feeling, if I don't know what's going on, I can kind of go through my life, and until that tsunami hits my town, until that earthquake hits my town,
Right.
it doesn't really affect me. I work on a
Mm-hmm.
farm somewhere, or I'm a surfer in some place.
Until it hits you, like you said. Until it
Until it
hits
hits
you.
me, it
Yeah.
may not hit me in my lifetime, right? So I can almost go through my
Mm-hmm.
whole life. That's the point there. The question is, if I don't know about anything that's going on in the world, and I can just go through, imagine you're hanging out, you got your family, you have your food, you have a nice life, and you don't have any. Now, this is what it was like to be alive a couple hundred years ago. Your whole perception of life was, your hut and your family, and maybe your little townspeople, maybe. So if there was, now you would definitely notice the heat wave. If what was the temperature in Pakistan or Afghanistan this week?
Well, just choose a place. Choose a place.
Tell me one of the hot, real
Was
hot
crazy.
ones. Tell me one of the
What
very
I
hot ones.
saw, is, I spoke to some of our friends in I spoke to our dear friend in Toronto. We were working on something, and I spoke to a friend in Ottawa, and they're fine there. But they said that in British Columbia, which is like, the
All
other
the way on the
side of,
west coast.
yeah, exactly, of Canada, there they had like the hottest day ever recorded across Canada. like nearing 50 Celsius, which is a lot.
Okay, for
And then
people
you
who
have
are,
like,
hold on, if you're
yeah,
an American, just let me tell the North Americans for a second. 52 Celsius is about 126 Fahrenheit.
okay,
That's like,
a
melt your
lot.
feet. Yeah, melt your feet if you're walking on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
what else? I mean, I just heard from, I mean, a couple of different places, um, wildfires in Hawaii, and yeah, in South Asia, Kuwait, Pakistan, like these places, there's temperature that is, beyond the threshold of human uh, tolerance, basically. It's like deadly temperatures, like, not something that you're supposed to live in as a human being in the 21st century, or at all. We're
So,
just, yeah.
Chris, is this normal? Like, meaning, does this happen every 100 years, or is this something that's super abnormal? Because a lot of times, say they say, "Oh, this is terrible," and then it turns out, oh, well, that volcano explodes, like every 45 years. So,
No, I
um,
mean, there you
is-
go. In Canada, it's the hottest day ever recorded. That's what I understood. It's the hottest temperature ever recorded, and in a few other places too.
more than a
Um,
billion seashore animals have cooked to death in British Columbia heat wave.
yeah.
Wow. Well, anyway, the good side of that is there'll be a lot of organic carbon-based fertilizer at the bottom of the ocean for whatever will grow
Right.
there next,
Right.
right? You
Right.
always have to look at that. Oh, fascinating. Not on topic, but something fascinating. I heard on Rogan's podcast, I think it was his podcast, they were talking about the Brazilian rainforest.
Okay. The
Apparently,
Amazon, the
yeah, the
Amazon, or
Amazon. Yeah, yeah. So apparently, the Amazon, the unexplored Amazon, is about the size of the Indian subcontinent over there. It's like five
yeah, yeah. There's
million
like
kilo.
millions and millions of how many? Oh,
I think they said 5 million kilometers. Does
wow.
that sound
That
right? Square
that that
kilometers.
that are
That's
like
unexplored.
unresearched or something. Like
That's
not.
basically as if you like a whole, like, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
area that have not researched. So check this out, and
Wow.
something very interesting as far as like, we have this expression in the wisdom of Kabbalah as far as light excelleth from darkness, meaning like you can't see the light unless there's like some dark screen to project it on. So there was all of these kind of highways and all kind of like giant circles inside of giant squares and all kind of structures and stuff there that nobody knew about, but thank God they were clear cutting the rainforest for to grow soybeans, because by clear cutting the rainforest, all of a sudden they started discovering all of these things that they would have otherwise not been able to discover. So there's
There you
a
go.
bright side to clear cutting the Amazonian
There's the
rainforest. Okay,
silver lining in cutting down
yeah,
the Amazon
exactly.
trees.
So back to our
Yeah.
story here. I live in a village, 100, 200 years ago, and I don't know about what's going on around the world, so it's not affecting me. I get up in the morning, I deal with my family, I deal with my kids, I deal with fixing the bottom of shoes or tanning hides or I don't know, right? Whatever my job
Right.
is, my
And
thing that my
also
dad.
now, by the way, we're talking about heat waves and all that. Okay, it's in Pakistan. If it's not in my place right now, why should
I
I
wouldn't even
care?
know about it.
Yeah,
I would not
exactly.
even know about it.
Mm.
So the question is, um, if we just shut off all this internet and crap and we went back to a
Yeah.
simple life, like would all these things, okay, it would be hot this summer, but in general, like would all of these things uh, affect us? And what I want to talk about really is what is the wisdom of Kabbalah saying about this, because there's always been things happening all around the world. Okay, maybe it hasn't been as hot as it's been right now, but no, actually it has. Because they recorded that this whole earth was a ball of fire at one point. They also recorded that this earth was a ball of ice at one point. And they also recorded that
Right.
many volcanoes went off. So there's always been stuff happening, and
Mm-hmm.
big stuff, and heat and cold and earthquakes and everything. So all of
And
these doomsday
viruses too, of course.
and
Mm-hmm.
viruses, yeah, they've always been around, and they've always wreaked havoc on Earth. So what it seems is like, imagine I have crap on my eyes, and and with a tiny pinhole, and through the crap, I can see, you know what they call crap. Just call me like, imagine I'm like a horse or something, right? I
Mm-hmm.
only see what's right in front of me in my horse life. But then as the generations progress through the progression of time, that crap starts coming off my eyes. I start understanding what's around me.
Hmm.
Now I start to see, right? Earth has always been Earth. I mean, as long as Earth has been Earth, how long? 4 billion? Earth has been Earth for a while. There's been volcanoes here, there's been ice here, there's been fires here, there's been earthquakes. But all of a sudden, I start to feel it all. I didn't feel it all before. I lived in my little neighborhood. Maybe I felt something through the network, but even my
Mm-hmm.
senses were way more dull. Like today, we feel things like when someone's driving down the Asaf, I've talked for 15 minutes. You barely said a word, so please jump in at any point. I'm driving down the highway. I know when someone's staring at me. Do that, everyone. It's a fun exercise. Stare at someone when you're driving on the highway and they'll look over. They can feel you. We feel forces. They're dull. We don't always know how to relate to them. We don't know what they mean. So there could have been some earthquake or some war in China, and I lived in England, say at the time, I may feel something. I have no idea what it is, how to relate to it. I may have felt something in the network. I may have felt some pressure in my body. I may have related it to something I ate. Who knows? We always are
Mm-hmm.
feeling things in the network. But
Right.
now, in addition to that, we're seeing, and there's a whole other thing about seeing. It's a different sense. Seeing is like a very, seeing is believing, even though we learned from our optical illusion episode that there's even more there. But seeing is a new is a what am I trying to say about seeing? We are seeing things now that before, if you have some kind of feeling, that's one thing. But when you also see it,
What is it that you feel that we are seeing, or that you see that we are seeing?
that the all
And,
of these
and when you
problems that
mean
always
we as a global society, right? As a human species, yeah. What is it that we're starting to see?
well, all of the problems that were well, that's my point. If I lived on that island and I didn't know about anything, so
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't really affect my life so much. But today, I can't go a day without hearing and seeing and realizing that the whole world is on fire, that everything is going to hell.
Right.
And I see that now. I didn't see it before. I was like a little kid. I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and I crap on my eyes. I couldn't see what was going on. And now, for humanity, the crap is being washed out, wiped out of the eyes, and we're starting to see, oh my God, we're in this network
Right.
of
So so so
pressures.
so problems, challenges, disasters, troubles, issues, they are becoming more and more global. We are discovering ourselves, if you want to, think about it through your metaphor, right? That we gradually clean our eyes so we can see. We're gradually seeing that we are a single network encompassing the whole planet. Now, you mentioned something that threw me
I mentioned
to
20 minutes of things. I'm glad you
you
started.
mentioned something about like a feeling. If you ate something, you said I ate something, I can feel something. If you know anyway, that it's just so my associative mind threw me to something that I ran into that I'm now seeing is kind of connected. Okay, so we are not, what we're not seeing this whole time as we're evolving, and we're only now gradually a little bit beginning to see that we are one thing, is is like um, is like it changes on our understanding of the world, of reality, of ourselves. There's let me throw at you this kind of anecdote that I ran into. They found Chris, see if you can uh, pull up what I'm talking about now. Scientists found, I think this week or last week, something recently. They found uh, a 230 million years old beetle that was living in fossilized dinosaur poop.
Nice.
And it's newly discovered, unknown before to science. It's a new kind of beetle that we didn't know existed, and they found it in fossilized dinosaur poop from apparently 200 and something million years ago, right?
I got a lot of
And
things to do in my life. Are you going to tell me why this is relevant to something?
okay, of course. So so first of all, it's you gotta say there's something really, really you gotta like, what are these scientists doing? You know, look at where they're looking for for evidence,
Well,
where
I
they're
guess it's
looking for.
cool to find dinosaur poop somewhere, but
But
okay.
but anyway, so that beetle. Now here's what's interesting for me. That beetle from the dinosaur poop from 230 million years ago is was unknown to science, and now it's causing major new understandings about evolution.
He always existed.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And it's that little thing in the most, unexpected place that suddenly changes your whole understanding of that, because now this tells a lot to the scientists, right? We don't need to get into the details of it, but just think about what now they're rethinking what was the diet of the dinosaurs, what kind of geography, what were the environmental conditions, how the food chain worked. It changes a lot of things that they didn't think about before, right? So the picture of reality changes because there's suddenly one new piece of the puzzle that
Hmm.
came into appearance, right? And but it was always there, and the evolutionary process that led to whatever it is that happened was always there. And if you want to go from with a Kabbalistic perspective on this, it didn't even happen before. It's always here, right here and now. All time exists all the time beyond how we experience it,
Okay,
right?
that's that's
So
that's that's what I want to. That's what I want to play with right there.
so
That's the.
we are always a globally integrated, single, collective creature. We are one global creature. And all these problems that we're seeing, especially in the 21st century, and even if you want to zoom in with like laser sharp zoom in, starting from 2020, starting from COVID, we've entered this completely new qualitative phase of developing our perception, because for the first time we are recognizing our interdependence in both a feeling way and a seeing way. Like you said, we're beginning to see that we're all interdependent. And now, so it started with COVID, but very quickly we're going to see it in many other realms of human
So
engagement. So
if
the ecology, heat waves, global warming, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going into the debate now about global
I'm sure
warming,
it's
but
hot in Pakistan, but it's
but
very hot in this room, by the way.
yeah, there you go.
Like over
The
here.
the financial system is going to show it to us. The ecological system for sure. We're going to see it everywhere. We're going to
Okay, so that
see,
that's
yeah.
what I that this is the juicy stuff here. So I lived in some village. I didn't recognize anything. Now I advanced a few hundred like the soul didn't change, the body changed forms a bunch of times, things developed. Now I start to see that I'm in this world, and now I start to see all these things happening in the world. Just like that, I think what you were telling me about this beetle inside the poop, like it was always there. We didn't see it. Now we reveal it. It reveals things. Wow. So now check this out. We
Yeah.
learn some kind of method, some kind of process to go from, I was villager. up until now, my view of the world has expanded a lot. Now today, without having to wait another few hundred years, through these processes, things are developing a lot until imagine if I felt imagine if I felt that if I think a bad thought about somebody, I get kicked in the back or something like that. Or I think a bad thought about somebody and
Mm-hmm.
and then I get a stomach ache because the, we're all that's exactly how it is in fact. We don't feel it at all because I'm like that villager from 200 years ago who didn't understand what was going on in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah, yeah. So we are that's the next step. I was just going to get there. The we are going to discover not just that the world is, you can say, of course, we're more global because we've become a more globalized society. Trade, commerce, transportation, information, the internet, communication, media, all of those made us the global village that we are now. It's technological progress, you know. But what if we start discovering that it's not just that information is moving faster beyond geographical limitation. It's not just that you and I are sitting right now. How many miles away are we apart right now?
Few
Uh,
thousand,
several
3,000,
several thousands,
3,500,
right?
4,000.
So it's not just that we're able to do this, and feel like we're in the same room and also broadcast to a bunch of people, and we couldn't do this, 50 years ago even. It's not just that. What if we're going to I'm going to tell you that we're going to see that human thought, human desire, human intention, our very own personal inner worlds are inextricably tied to the volcano that just erupted in where was it? Chris, help me out here.
There was one in
Uh,
Costa Rica. There was a
the,
volcano that erupted recently.
there you go. There you go in Costa Rica, or the 52 Celsius in Pakistan, or a virus that is spreading and infecting humanity with and mutating and so on. All of those layers of reality are all connected. You cannot separate biology from psychology, from uh, uh, geography, and from physics. They're all one reality. We, with our limitation, with our limited perception, we are segmenting reality and
So
cutting it to chopping it to
so
pieces.
so
But
tell me,
really, we're
why is
putting
the
it back together now. That's the great transition. That's the 21st century. We're going to put all of reality back together. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
why is the wisdom of Kabbalah's focus on people and not, for example, like cutting emissions, cutting CO2, or
Right.
getting everyone to be
Right.
vegetarian and stuff like that? Why is the focus always on man? And what is this ridiculously naive crap that you keep saying that, just change the relations between people and
Right.
nature, everything,
Right.
and that's going to change volcanoes, like you just
Mhm.
said. Like, give me a break, you
Right.
know? Oh, you're going to change
Yeah.
your relations, your human relations, and all of a sudden the temperature's going to change. Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, sure, dude.
Right. 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 So definitely a classic kind of matter of perception. It's a classic matter of perception because it's we think based on what we see. We think we see the world in some linear way. I hit something. I flicked this domino. Okay, I flicked the domino, and then it made the other dominoes fell. What if what if all of us and everything that's happening, including weather, economy, and your thoughts and desires, and everything in between. What if all of that is also part of the domino system, part of the domino effect? This is what Kabbalists are telling us, that everything that's happening in reality, everything that's happening in the universe, everything that's happening on any level. Oh, there you go. Here's my visual accessory. That's a cool that's a cool. Okay. Yeah, I agree with Chris. That's a great thing to show right now. Look, let's flow with this. Look at these dominoes. Oh, that's a beautiful. This is so satisfying to watch. But check this out, right? The moment you flick one, the moment you flick one, this is actually directly related to what I was talking about. The moment you flick one, there is a ripple effect and it moves through the whole system. Every domino that's connected, that is in the chain, that is in the system is linked and they're all affected. Now, this is where we are. Thoughts, desires, aspirations, goals of personal people, of leaders, of media organizations are connected to our economy. It's connected to our psychology. It's connected to the weather. It's connected to the planets. It's connected to what scientists find in as quantum probabilities, and that they can't figure out how they're working. All layers of reality are like this domino. It's all interdependent. It's all connected. Now, let me tell you, let's go even beyond that. What if you're one of these domino how do you say one domino? Does it have
Yeah,
an
domino.
does it have a name? Domino, is it a domino peg or a pin or a
I
uh,
think it's just
uh
called a domino.
just a domino? Okay. If you're one domino, right, in this ripple effect, you feel like you're doing something. You're touching the one that's next to you, and you're also getting touched by the one that's before you, right? So, but you only
Consensually.
see that. But you only what?
Consensually.
Consensually, right? But of course, but you you only see that. That's what you're seeing. Just the two dominoes that are before you and after you that you're dealing with. Now, you don't recognize that you're perhaps changing a certain current, a certain flow is going through you that is going through the whole system. So that's the first thing we have to understand. Nature is one thing. There are no two natures, two realities, two universes, or there's just one reality. We perceive different layers of it, and it's we break it down to many different pieces, but there's one puzzle. Okay? That's the first thing to understand. Now you asked, why do we put the emphasis on humans then? Okay, it's all connected. But why
And let me
humans?
add another
Yeah?
nuance to it. Even sometimes
Throw
when we
it
talk
in.
about it,
Yeah.
so sometimes when we talk about it, I get this kind of feedback. Well, yeah, you're good to humans, and then by being good to humans, they will want to clean up the environment or something like that. Like so, it's like this very kind of one to one, like one
No.
domino to the next domino thing. But there's also this kind of quantum movement
Yeah.
that if something changes here,
Yeah.
something all the way on the other side of the universe also changes instantly. So it's not just one
Right.
hits the one, hits the one, hits the one. There's also this other aspect about it that the wisdom of Kabbalah is talking about, which
Right.
is not found in the normal intellect of people, and what makes it so difficult to bring this wisdom to people, because a person really has to be ripe to understand what we're talking about, because as simple as you make it, there's still nothing in this world
It
that
goes
the
against it goes against our more immediate visceral sensations. That's the problem. Because our immediate visceral
how can you
sensation
explain
is
that your
this
thoughts are going to
domino.
stop a volcano?
You can explain it. It's explainable. It's just not something that you can feel until you begin to feel it a little bit. People who are, who begin to practice this wisdom, who have an awakening towards the wisdom of Kabbalah, they typically begin to have a sensation that everything's connected, and because everything's connected, there's one force that's guiding the whole system. You understand, it's one and the same. If everything is connected, there can't be many different forces. All of the system acts as one. So the people who come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, they have some sensitivity towards that singular force of reality, that they belong to it as well. They begin to feel their belonging to the singular force in reality, and that's what opens their ears to begin to comprehend what the Kabbalists are actually talking about. That they're talking about actual laws of nature that are hidden from our five senses, from our ordinary bodily perception. They're talking about laws that connect the human level to the still vegetative and animate level beyond our physical
Okay,
behavior.
hold on, just a
Yeah.
second for anybody who hasn't gone through the Kabbalah of Revealed 1 and 2. When you say still vegetative and animate, just break it down for a second.
Right. So wait, I think I'll do it from going at it from where you started, because I think that was really important what you started talking about. You how for
I
a
said if I think
for
bad about someone, I'm going to get
yeah,
kicked in
yeah,
the
yeah.
back, like to discover that network.
It's okay. So it's easy to tell people. It's easy to tell people, look, if people will be good to each other and feel connected to each other and feel connected to the planet, they will pollute less. They will deplete the resources less. They won't rape the planet as badly as they're
As
doing it
much.
now. Yeah, exactly. They will a little bit, but less. That's something that's understandable. And you can say that this is, on some level, that's also relevant to what the wisdom of Kabbalah is saying. But this is totally not the big reveal here. The big reveal, the big thing, is that human thought, human desire, and human intention have a major role in all levels of nature. Why is it? Because those levels that I've mentioned before, inanimate, vegetative, animate, and human, basically everything that we see around us in nature, right? Whether it's rocks and minerals, or plants, or animals, or people. There's basically these four levels. They appear to us as four levels of life, four levels of matter, four levels of creatures, things, creatures, and us, kind of. That's what it appears to us. But from a deeper perspective, a non material perspective, what the Kabbalists reveal is a picture that shows that all of those levels are intricately connected frequencies of desire. And desire is the connecting
Can you do
infrastructure
better? Can
of
you?
the
I
whole
know this word
reality.
is
Yeah.
I know this word is used all the time and we can't get away from it. Can you try and do a little bit better than saying desire?
I don't know if we should, because I think that desire is um is something that you and I as human beings feel very simply. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's something that every child understands. Oh, desire, I want something. And yet we don't know really where it comes from. We don't um, treat it as we recognize it as a force that guides our behavior, that determines our activity, but we don't understand it as the thing that makes the fabric of reality. So we already have an
Also,
emotional connection to that word. That's why I don't know
okay,
if we should.
I
Yeah.
just
Okay.
it doesn't
Hmm.
feel rich enough to me. Like it really
Right.
doesn't feel as in, like it carries everything in it. But when you have there's desire, suppose I have a desire. Suppose I feel alone. I feel just a giant emptiness inside of me,
Hmm.
right? I'm like depressed or not even whatever. I just feel alone inside. And my awareness and my emotional tools, my introduction to the method of Kabbalah, it's maybe not so great yet. I'm just writing there. So I have these feelings. So I'm using whatever tools I have. I don't really maybe know that that's what it is. I didn't name that I feel alone. Instead, I'm searching through Instagram. I'm searching through Twitter. I'm maybe getting road rage. I'm calling that person at work such a stupid idiot. I'm like going to eat something. After I eat something, I need to like go watch another show. Like I have an emptiness but I still have a lot of crap on my eyes. I still can't see what's happening and why it's happening. So I have the desire,
Okay.
but but the desire is starting to form, but I don't have the language, the emotional intelligence, and a method to recognize the desire and to know how to do something about it. So you clear about that? Because if I start to understand, if I start to develop the emotional intelligence and I
Mm-hmm.
start to understand what it is, okay, so I feel empty. What do I actually do to manage that emptiness? There's things I can do. There's certain kind of connections I can make with people. There's certain kind of love that I need to fill that emptiness. But if I don't know that, then I'm all day long cursing at the neighbor, pissed off at work. Maybe I'm even getting medicated.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
searching through social media all day long, just trying to deal
I
with something.
I I would argue that most it's I understand it sounds pretentious. Let me explain it after I say it, okay? I would say that most of humanity in the 21st century, at least most of the the kind of developed world is
People who
feeling
have
that.
food.
Yeah, exactly. Is feeling that. There we're just so detached. We're very far from understanding our emotions. We've become very alienated from our emotions because of a lot of things. It has to do with media and technology and all kinds of filters between us and ourselves. We're very detached from our emotions. We are the simplest example is what's the last time when's the last time that you may are probably not a good example because you do this as a practice every day for 3 hours. But when's the last time the average human being was stopped everything in life and just tried to not be distracted by some Netflix show or something on the phone or something on the news or some even just to talk to someone about something for no reason, just to have, we are very much, we're afraid. We're a culture that has become afraid of silence. We have to have this white noise around us all the time to distract us. There's this culture, for instance, that didn't exist 100 years ago, and even 70 years ago, I think. Of having like a television in your living room, this screen that constantly projects sounds and images to constantly occupy your senses with some audio visual experience so that you will be continuously distracted. It's like in the past, people would, you know, uh, um, live in the room that they're supposed that's called a living room. Today, the living room is the watching room. What I'm trying to say is, sorry, this is you opened up a bunch of tangents here. Where did you start here? Where did we want to go? There's a there's
Okay, so there's a few things.
uh,
The one thing is when all of the crap is removed from our eyes and also from our hearts,
yeah.
we start to feel the interconnectedness of the whole system, and that and the emotions that I'm feeling
Hmm.
are related to what's going on all around me. It's not just mine and I'm in some box disconnected from everything. And how I face the world, the thoughts that I'm having about the world, are affecting everyone else. The reason I feel like crap so much is because everyone else is having a terrible life. Because if everyone else
Right, right, right,
was
right.
having a great,
You were. Now I got it. Yeah. So people of today are very advanced. Our modern society is, on the one hand, very advanced from a spiritual perspective, because a lot of us are are very close to the emptiness, are very close. We're on, my feeling of it is that our whole culture is on the verge of just an abyss, but we're just distracting ourselves from seeing it.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of the
That's what I
situation.
felt like in the
There's
brain
empty
forest. Exactly.
there's emptiness all around. everything, there's so much emptiness in everything. You look at think about media, right? It's all of that, like the social media, the continuous chase between the algorithms, the AI based algorithms trying to occupy our minds and constantly just keep us distracted, keep us distracted, keep us distracted, right? There's this Hollywood, Netflix, all of these, like the production of shows now, TV shows and films and all that is so fast. It was never as fast as it is today. It's incredible. And everything becomes old the second it goes out, and everything becomes just more of the same. It's and you know it's the same. Hollywood is like repeating the same story again and again, like this color, now it's that color, now he has this kind of superpower, now he has that kind of superpower, now it's this thriller, now it's that. Same thing, same crap, again and again. We're on the and it's beginning not to work, is what I would say, but we're still not noticing it. There will come a point where we're going to have to face the big questions about who we are, why are we here, what is our purpose. That is the big thing, and that is what that desire is evolving towards. Now, people who come to the wisdom of Kabbalah are people who already are more conscious of that point in them, that desire in them. They can utter that question to some extent. They can understand that they're asking it. All I'm saying is that I believe that most of the people in the developed modern world today are very close to that question. They're just unconscious of it. So they go watch a Netflix show. So they
You
go,
remember
yeah, go ahead.
you remember the silver lining about the rainforests being devastated in order to grow the soybeans from earlier?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so there's a silver lining to this as well. When we have a little child, we like a baby, an infant, maybe a few months old or a year old or something. We do these kind of games with the child where we set everything up for the kid, and all the kid needs to do is like push the one button, or
Right.
like, you know, open this, and then all of a sudden all the adults in the room, woo, the noises start, everyone laughs and everything happens. So everything is prepared for the child, and all we want to do as we teach the kid to advance is to just react to us, right? Until then the kid was just laying on his belly or her belly, came out of the womb. We loved and hugged her, fed her, everything. But now we want the next phase of the child's development is to react to us. So all we want the kid to do is just push the button
Right.
or
Right.
pull the
So
lever. And then
so this is exactly the domino example. You see that? You know what I mean? It's exactly, we are right now in an endless domino effect. This is what's happening. We're gradually discovering that. We thought we're just separate dominoes. Everyone just, I'm not touching, as long as I'm not touching the other one, the one before me, the one after me, I'm good. I can live my life. I can do what I want to do. It's all good. It's all fine. That was the case until the previous century, I would say. Now we're entering a new stage where all that's happening, including the heat waves and the volcanoes and the viruses and the coming financial crisis, I'll say that, and the nonstop chase that is kind of happening now between virus and vaccines and all of this is gradually showing us that we're inextricably tied to each other. We're completely interdependent. We're in the domino effect. And it's just keeps swirling and swirling and swirling. It keeps moving through us. That's what's happening. This law of the domino effect, the law of interdependence, is greater than us. And so the only thing that we need to do is start, after we recognize it, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to appear as a crisis to us. It's going to appear as an abyss. It's going to appear at, what do I do with it? All of a sudden, all these problems around the world. We don't know what to, and we're not going to know what to do with them. Leaders are going to lose the reins in terms of how to manage the world. The public is almost losing its trust in the leaders completely. A lot of there's a breakdown that's gradually happening, but it's only a breakdown as long as we fail to embrace this law of interdependence. Because the moment we begin to embrace that interdependence, to not to acknowledge it, and begin to want to be like that, to flow with this law of interdependence between us, that's where the kid, everything is set up for the kid, and all he needs to do is just, flip the switch.
So this
That's
is a
it.
really this is a very legitimate and realistic way to actually explain to bring this wisdom down to a normal level because we are a speck of sand on a speck of sand on a speck of sand compared to the vastness of reality. I mean, us as humans, even our
Right.
planet, is so insignificantly nothing. It's like nothing of nothing. You would,
If you look through material eyes, of course.
okay, so my point is
Hmm.
that if you look through material eyes, and that's how we live our material lives, and that's where we get all of these material solutions, right? All of the problems that
Yeah,
we're trying to solve,
exactly.
it's like, cut
Right.
down emissions. Whole the movies, I think today I saw some headline that 200 movie stars sent a message to President Biden to not let them do a gas pipeline through wherever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure, guys. Well
Let.
done. Yeah, that'll be great. That's going to help.
Yeah.
Not about pipelines. The point is, what about China? What about this country? What about that country? What about the rest of the world? You're gonna not do a pipeline here, but what if they keep doing it there? What if they're burning coal over there? What if they're
Yeah.
dumping
Exactly. It's
pollutants in the
becoming it's
ocean down there?
it's becoming
So,
impossible to try to fight interdependence with a linear mind. That
so,
it's just
so
greater than
here's
us. That's what we're going to discover. The only way forward is to embrace it. Yeah, go ahead.
here's where this baby example might be our way out, might be our legitimate and realistic explanation. We are so insignificant, meaning we are in a system. There's some storm on the sun. It affects our mood here.
Yeah.
Something happens with the moon,
Hmm.
on the moon, it affects things on Earth. Something happens on each and every planet.
and
It's
and I gotta
affecting us
say,
here.
and I gotta say that to some extent, ancient civilizations, or even indigenous people in some places had some of that
Of
of
course
that
they did. The
perception,
the
because
every
they
day of the
felt
week is
more
named after.
they felt more connected to nature, more dependent on the forces of nature, and that made them more sensitive to nature's
Every
program and to their
day
connection. Yeah.
Every day of the week is named after one of the closest planets to us, which had some kind of
Right.
influence on us. And each month is named after a group of planets, which together, between them, had a certain influence.
Right.
The
And
Mazal,
where
had a
does it
certain.
all come from? It all comes from about like 4,000 years ago, when like the cradle of human civilization that we experience today came to be. We're still using a lot of that infrastructure today. That there's
So
a.
even if we solved,
Yeah.
even if we could get our, I wish I could say SHIT together, and we fixed every problem on Earth. If there's a storm on the sun, that'll be our next problem. We get our act together on Earth, but they're like, oh, Jupiter's doing this, and Venus, the ones on Venus are going like that, and the sun is like this, and then we have a whole nother set of problems because even if we solve everything on Earth, until we solve the problems on all the other planets,
but
they're still going to be affected.
but here's the thing. There's a reason why the Zohar writes that all of the worlds and all of the levels besides human, the still, the vegetative, and the animate levels of reality,
Which is
there,
everything else that we
which
know
is
of.
everything outside of us, it all rises and falls, goes up and down, oscillates together with human intention. The Zohar writes this almost 2,000 years ago. What does that mean? It means that we, as insignificant as we may seem to ourselves, as insignificant as we truly are on a material level, there is a conscious level of reality where we can flip the switch, where we can change the direction of the domino, where we can not uh, uh, not take
It's
control of
that baby.
nature
It's
the
the
way.
baby just
Yeah,
pushing the
it's the
button.
baby. It's the baby pushing the button. Nature has developed mankind in order to create a conscious being that can be consciously involved in evolution itself, in the act of creation itself. Conscious participation, I think, is a key word that people need to take away from this. We need not to try to coerce what we want on nature and on the world and on each other. We need to identify the law of interdependence that's working between us and nature. It's greater than us. We have to accept it. We have to acknowledge it. And then we can see how we can consciously participate with it.
So
That's
let's just get to
where the kid starts
let's just
dancing according to the music and the parents are happy. That's what's required of us. Yeah.
So let's just talk about our first step. What do we do as humans? As the only, listen, maybe we're going to find some life on some other planet. When we do, we'll talk about it. Until then, in all of the known universe, which we are so insignificant, we're the only ones like us. Of all of that rock
uh,
and minerals, and then even less plants and animals, there's a tiny amount of humans.
I'm laughing because my plan is to deflect your question and actually answer the last step because I think that's more. Because I
Okay, so
think that
tell me about the last step.
okay, that's you see. Want to hear about the last step? Let's talk
No, I
about
just
that. The,
I wanted to give uh something very practical because we're always talking
right.
about things that are so lofty. The very, very practical thing, and it
Mm-hmm.
sounds idiotic. I understand how idiotic it sounds, faced with your bills and your mortgage and your
It
screaming
look
kid.
look. It depends.
And
It depends on who we're talking to. It depends on who we're talking to. If we're talking to a person who's already familiar,
the greatest Kabbalist can
so,
still have a screaming kid and a mortgage. And
but you're saying the first step. That's what you
okay,
wanted,
first step.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
what I
you see,
want.
I'm going with you eventually.
Okay, thanks. No, I want you
So
to go from the first step to the last step.
all the way to
You
the
have 2
last
minutes. You have 2 minutes.
in 2 minutes, as usual. That's how we end shows usually. 2 minutes to explain the secrets of the universe. I think for first step, what to do for a person who hears this, I would say it depends on what kind of person we're talking to. Because
In
if
relation
it's a
to the baby pushing the button, talk to me about
right, but
that.
if it's a person who's already into the wisdom of Kabbalah, somewhat, I would say the step to do is to um, start practicing it, because Kabbalah is a method that has been developed for almost 6,000 years from people who by
Hold
people
on, hold
who
on. We're not
did
selling
exactly
anything here.
that.
We're not selling
No, but
anything
but
here.
that's what
Just
I would
give me
say in
this.
2 minutes. In 2 minutes, that's what I would say. Go deeper into that wisdom if you already have that kind of interest. If not, if you would, you would tell me to say that to a person who's just listening and has no interest in the wisdom of Kabbalah yet or at all, then I would say something different. Um, I would say, um, and here too, I would divide it to two kinds of people. I would say ask yourself, what is my purpose in life, and don't stop until you get an answer. That's one way. That by itself will start a natural program that will lead you to where you need to go. That's something I would say to someone who thinks that way. And to someone who doesn't want to think about lofty thoughts and it's too much, I would just say, wish that you could care for the whole system, for the whole of humanity, for for all people. Wish for that. You can't. Of course, we can't. We're egoistic creatures. We despise the law of interdependence. That's what enables us to be separate from it and gain consciousness and independence, which is what nature wants from us. But just to develop a wish to care for the rest of the creature, humanity, and all creatures is something else. I could say. I don't know if that's practical enough for you, but that's what I would do for 3 different kinds of people.
Okay, what's the last step?
The last step, though, is that when we begin to embrace the law of interdependence, when we begin to recognize that we are all one thing, this material world will disappear because it doesn't exist in the first place. It is because we have, like you said, crap on our eyes. We think it's a material world, just like we think it's a separated, broken down world, broken to pieces. We think our thoughts have nothing to do with the climate. We think our intentions have nothing to do with the viruses. We think there's biology and there's psychology. There is physics and there is, a human intentionality. The moment we begin to embrace the law of interdependence, to embrace our interconnection with each other and with all of nature, we'll begin to see that all of reality is one field of consciousness, if you will, or one field of the quality of bestowal that binds all of the elements of nature as one. And we'll begin to identify with the guiding intention behind all of nature, which is an intention of unconditional love and bestowal, beyond matter, beyond time, space, and motion. That's it. and there you go with our usual last 3 minutes of.
We should do a compilation of like the last 30 seconds of all the shows, and
right,
and rate how good we give it. Okay, everybody. Yeah. Thanks again. What an amazing time. Chris, do we have questions today?
What an amazing opportunity we have here to be with each other and with all those wonderful people who are, who have the sensitivity to be part of this discussion, to be part of this conversation. I know I didn't get to.
We didn't get to any questions. We haven't done questions in a long time, but I see.
But I saw a lot of activity on the chat, and it's heartwarming. And also from
what's up, Tuck Taco? I think that's Chris and Gwen Gross. We see your question. I hope Gwen. I think we included. We tried to include your question into the conversation. And Iggy, hi, and everyone else out there. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, if you're new here, Thursday 2 p.m. Eastern. That's the time.
And we will go together through all of these changes in a comfortable way to understand what's going on in the world through the wisdom of Kabbalah and how to bring love and connection for everyone. Let's do it together, friends. We'll see you soon.
Okay, let's just pretend for a second that everything's connected and it's also benevolent. Reality and truth fit for a dream. 8 billion lovers looking out for your well-being. No longer a need to concern for yourself, because in the new world, rich means building others' wealth. So everywhere you go, everyone you see is joyfully obsessed with taking care of your needs. When value is determined by who gives most, suffering and depression disappear like a ghost. If you're still not sure how this new life is born, there's a simple 3-step process to move us along. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn.